I left southern New Hampshire armed with a broken tent, some green firewood, and a set of old worn-out summer tires, and my 2014 Porsche 981 base Boxster. The destination? The Adirondacks of New York. Not for a car show, for camping. This is what happened when I tried to turn a mid-engine sports car into a grand touring overlander. And spoiler alert, it kinda worked. Welcome back to 11 After 9. If you're new here, I'm Derek. I make real-world Porsche content, ownership stories, deep dives, and sometimes little adventures just like this. The trip was long overdue. Work had become a grind, the chaos of life was really stacking up, and I needed to find some space to reset, to think, and so I packed light, got in the Boxster, and headed west. I recorded this video in 3D audio with the Porsche Sport exhaust engaged, and what's really fantastic is you can hear all of the burbles and exhaust cracks bouncing off of the trees of the Adirondack forest as I downshift and attack some of these amazing roads. So make sure you have your speakers up, and as always at the end of this video, for those of you that love the point of view and no other sound than the screaming of the motor, I'm going to include an unedited portion at the end of the video. So the plan was this. I took Route 101 west through New Hampshire and then climbed through Vermont's Green Mountains. I crossed over south of Lake Champlain into New York near the famous Ticonderoga. The whole drive was probably just about 4 hours, and it was all done in one go with a few coffee stops here and there, and it was honestly one of the most comfortable road trips I've taken. No back pain, no fatigue. I mean, the 981 suspension, it's just absolutely incredible. It soaks up the broken pavements going through the mountains, and even when you're in the wilderness of upstate New York, it stays unbelievably flat in corners, and it just encourages you to drive that much harder the more the road twists. So as a reminder, my base Boxster is really bone stock. It has the standard suspension height. As I mentioned earlier, it has an older set of Continental summer tires that are due to be replaced very soon. I have a set of Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's on order. But even with all of that, the car still absolutely blew me away. Over the mountain passes and through the twisty forest roads, like the famous Blue Ridge Road between North Hudson and Newcomb, New York, it shrugged off even the most technical of roads. The chassis just feels so alive. There's this balance, this connectiveness that you only get with a mid-engine Porsche. The chassis is so capable. It's completely unflappable. I can only compare this to my 2014 Porsche 911S. It's a 991 version. You know, with that car, the harder you pushed it, it was absolutely confident, but you were very much aware of the weight in the back of the car. And so when you swung around the corners, you were always feeling that weight shift. With the Boxster, there's none of that. The car just rotates, period. In fact, the harder I push it, the more it seems to want to dig in and turn. And I certainly haven't found the limits of this car. But it's also incredibly capable as a touring car. I mean, during this trip, this 4-hour trip, I averaged 27 miles per gallon, even with, let's call them, spirited moments. To talk about what I think about the base Boxster, please check out the other videos on this channel. But I can't give all the pros without mentioning any of the cons. And while I absolutely applaud this car and back road driving, 35, 45 mile an hour speed limits where you can really push the car and enjoy yourself in the twisty roads, the one thing I did notice is that where I might have wanted an S or a GTS was when it came to overtaking cars in a single lane road where you have a dotted line and you're stuck behind an RV or a slow moving truck and you really have to dart out and pass them. It was very important to plan your passes and also make sure you were in the right gear to really exercise the engine to make sure you were taking advantage of the base Boxster's torque band. It would have been nice to have a little bit more oomph in those situations, but quite honestly, that was really the only time I was ever felt left wanting for power. So for those of you that aspire to go camping in your Porsche sports cars, can you actually pack solo for a camping trip in a Porsche? The answer is yes. In the trunk, I had my tent, my sleeping pad, my sleeping bag, my Jetboil, my food packets, brought along a little bit of a powdered creamer for those little backcountry luxuries when you're sitting by the water and having your coffee. And in the front, I had my camera gear mainly, though I later in the trip swapped that out for the floor of the passenger seat because I loaded the frunk up with water and bundles of firewood. And that's right, they fit without any drama at all. That frunk is cavernous. Now, I fully admit this isn't really car camping where you bring a 10-person tent for yourself and a full-out Coleman grill and coolers and everything like that. I'm used to packing light. It kind of comes second nature for me. I used to do a lot of solo motorcycle camping back in the day before I had kids, and I kind of brought that same minimalistic mindset here. You know, there's only so much you can pack on a BMW adventure bike, and I used to head up into the wilderness for a few days at a time, and there is something very satisfying about trying to figure out what you absolutely need versus what you'd like. And admittedly, sometimes being a little uncomfortable is all part of the experience. But one of my favorite hacks is a little compression sack that doubles as a pillow when you flip it inside out. It kind of has a soft felt liner inside, and you pack it with your clothes, and there's your pillow. And it's a small one, but it does add to big comfort. I love things that can do 2 or 3 things at once, which really is what I love about the Boxster. The other thing that, for those of you that are getting into camping for the first time, that is an absolute necessity is a Jetboil. Do your research on it, but it will give you 2 cups of boiling water in about a minute or 2 that you can drop into your freeze-dried camping packets, or you can make yourself your morning coffee with a French press attachment. It is my go-to #1 must-have when you go camping. Well, that and my thermocell to keep away all the blood-sucking mosquitoes that all seem to be living around my camp. So my destination was the Lake Harris Campground. It's a state park in the Adirondacks of New York, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I was very lucky, and I was able to score a camping spot that sat out on this narrow peninsula. It was surrounded by water on almost all sides and trees above, birds all around, with a 10-foot walk to my own little private beach. The campsite was flat and peaceful, except for that one guy that decided to run his generator outside of his RV at 5:30 in the morning. Okay, so let's address the elephant in the room. My car definitely stuck out like a sore thumb in this campground. I was surrounded by GMC and Chevy pickup trucks, SUVs, and of course RVs. And here I come with my little red sports car with ground clearance of only a couple inches. When I rolled in, the ranger at the gate looked out and asked if it was a Ferrari because she had to put the make and model on the slip. And as I was pulling into my campground, some older guy sitting in a seat looked at me and said, "Man, you couldn't have picked a worse car to camp in." All I could do was smile, because I knew they were all wrong. The final 100 feet to my site was a little bit sketchy. As I mentioned, I was out on a peninsula, and it was kind of rocky and uneven with just enough elevation to make me feel like I was driving a classic 4Runner, not a mid-engine roadster. I really kind of had to pick my lines, and at one point I had to actually move a boulder that was kind of sticking out of the ground up a few inches. But the Boxster made it. No scraping, no drama, just a little bit of strategy. Porsche camping. There we go. But when I made it to my site, and when the sun went down, and I fired up my Jetboil, and I poured my hot water into my pouch for camp food, and I let the stillness settle in, there were no distractions, no screens, just some firelight and a beautiful lake. And that's when the real point of this trip hit me. I wasn't just there to camp, I was there to disconnect, and the car was just an excuse that I needed to get there. I was blessed with some amazing weather, and I woke up to the sun coming up over the Adirondack Mountains. But were there a few surprises? Yes. As I mentioned, the mosquitoes were out in force, and thanks to my trusty thermocell, which is an absolute must for camping, I was able to avoid most of them. What I wasn't able to avoid, the poison oak. I got lit up on my legs because apparently it was ringing my campsite when I walked down to the water, and I didn't find out that that was really a thing until a couple days later. So I guess that's all part of the experience? And maybe less a surprise and more a badge of honor was by the end of the drive back, the entire front end of the Boxster was plastered in mosquitoes. Check out this footage. It is hilarious. It's like the car was dipped in bug glue. But those are all little trophies. That means I was driving that car, and I was driving that car hard, and those little buggers didn't see me coming. After my coffee, I wanted to hit the road and experience some of the most beautiful roads in the Adirondacks. And as I mentioned, the Blue Ridge Road is famous in the Adirondacks as being the 17-mile route that cuts through the heart of the Adirondacks, and it has more twists and turns and double backs and S's and hairpins and some nice straight stretches where you can really exercise your engine. I drove that road 6 or 7 times. It was absolutely fantastic. I think I burned at least a half a tank of gas. I would thoroughly encourage anyone going up there to go check it out. So I spent a full day driving around upstate New York and then headed back to the campsite to enjoy a campfire. Because of a work surprise the next morning, I had to cut out that night and head home early. But the final drive back, pure magic. I left at 8 p.m., top down, 77 degrees, and I cruised through the Adirondacks and the mountains of Vermont under the stars. You know how in the dark you always feel like you're going faster than you are, and with the port exhaust on and the sport button engaged, I was in my absolute glory. That 4-hour trip home was not long enough. Got home just before 1 a.m., zero fatigue, just a sense of gratitude for cars like this and moments like that. So what's my takeaway? I learned a lot on this trip. The Adirondacks remain one of the most peaceful, beautiful places in the country. Life moves a little slower out there, and that's not a bad thing. And the 981 Boxster, it's not just a great sports car, it's a damn near perfect grand tourer. It carried everything I needed, it carved corners, it cruised in comfort, it handled dirt roads, mountain passes, and late-night highway sprints without breaking a sweat. So if you're thinking about taking your Porsche on an actual adventure, do it. Don't baby it, don't garage queen it. These cars are made to move. Sometimes you don't need a big overland rig or a truck to find peace in the wilderness. Sometimes all you need is a tent, a Jetboil, and a Boxster. This has been one of the most refreshing weekends I've had in a long time, and I hope you folks enjoyed coming along with me on the journey. And if you did, give me a thumbs up, drop me a comment, and please subscribe. I've got a lot more coming on this channel. Just as a reminder, I'm going to follow this with some point of view video that I took along the Blue Ridge Road, and you can hear the engine sing as I cruise the Adirondacks, and I hope you enjoy it. Until next time, keep driving. Porsche camping. There we go.